Okay, well, this season is season 5 of Fresh Chats with Dr. Boyce, and I'm so excited to say this season we're going to start out by focusing on a series of sessions entitled Make It Make Sense, Demystifying AI for Educators. And so, in this first episode for season 5, I am so excited to be joined by the Dr. I like to put some respect on it. The Dr. Nneka McGee is with me today. Thank you so much for joining me for episode 1. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you. And I'm excited to be here to discuss such a hot topic with you this fine day.
It really is. It's good that you say hot topic because I feel like I've kind of encountered you in a couple different conference seasons. I'm sorry, conferences this season, and I will say I've been so excited about the possibilities with AI and how teachers can leverage AI tools to just really expedite their planning processes and gathering resources and all the things that take teachers so long to do. And yet I know so many educators and districts that are still kind of trudging along really slowly towards fully integrating AI for different reasons. And so our last conference was on the West Coast in San Diego, and it's like everybody's moving full steam ahead. But a big part of my audience here in the Fresh Fam is in the South. And my experience has been that a lot of times we get like the tail end of movements happening. And I know that's always to the detriment of our students. And so I wanted to kind of get your feedback on like what your experience been with that. Are you seeing that, or in your work, are you seeing districts that are like gung ho and they're ready to go? Or what's been your experience so far?
So definitely I understand, your take, whereas I've been in rooms where it's standing room only in some areas, and then in some southern areas, you'll come in and people are very hesitant or very unsure about, okay, I've heard about this AI thing, but I'm not feeling it. Being in South Texas, and actually when I served in South Texas, I think I was in an interesting position because I had been doing work with AI before ChatGPT had come out, and it was part of my doctoral research. And so when I entered into expanding it to our teachers and to our administrators, there was a different experience because they were kind of, there was a knowledge base there upon which to kind of alleviate fears in that initial connection with what AI is and how it impacts educational ecosystems. And
Mhm.
so one of the biggest parts of that hesitation is because many people had not heard of artificial intelligence, and then their first introduction was chat gpt and the association with cheating, plagiarism, the end of education, they're coming to take your jobs in
No more
addition.
teachers. They're like,
Huh?
what do we need? No more teachers if we
Yeah,
start doing
no.
stuff.
Like your job is gone. But then the other thing that came was the association of pop culture with AI, which is your, Terminator, your AI, AI, the
Robot,
iRobot
I
robot.
robot. Yeah.
Yeah. And so our pop culture has not been kind to, in one extent, to artificial intelligence. But I like to talk about, hey, when I was growing up, and I may be showing my age, but artificial intelligence was like the kit car from Knight Rider and things like that, where you saw,
Yeah.
how it could be help and fun.
Mhm.
And so I think that's part of the hesitation, right? Just what our associations are, how it was introduced to a wider audience. The second part has to do, with the realities of where we are in education. If you're introducing, here's this next thing, but I already have such a full plate,
Yeah.
I don't know where this thing is going to fit on my plate or even how it applies. Because again, you're dealing with, what many people have seen with Chat GPT and other forms of generative AI, but not associating that with, how long AI has actually been a part of our classrooms. So I think that again, our kind of historical perspective combined with the unfortunate reality of where we are in education right now with our time constraints contributes to what you mentioned.
That makes sense because I know, I'm an entrepreneur and I'm kind of functioning in my own business, and my kind of introduction to AI and tools, when ChatGPT kind of came into the mainstream, my experience was that there are a lot of people who have been using, what I mean, like you're saying, you had kind of been hip to this, you did your doctoral work and all of that. But I have a friend that was working in Silicon Valley, and like this was something that was being used all the time. And so I remember I was writing a thank you after an interview, and I had typed up this thank you. And then I asked my friend, like, hey, can you review this for me, like any feedback, before I sent it after a job interview one time. And the feedback was like, ChatGPT could have did that in like 5 seconds. And I was like, I have a brain, like I have a doctoral degree. I don't need the computer writing a thank you for me. But then like immediately he put the information in and the company's name and like blah blah. And it was like, and I was like, hold on. It was way too fast and way like low key better than mine. And so I was just like, I really started to bring the idea back to my team when we started to craft our PD about like how, because of like what you're saying, teachers, there's so many things they have to already do, so many tools they're already learning in programs and all of these things. And so I'm like, how do we simplify this to say, here's a tool you can use. We're not saying add anything else, you know what I mean, to the box. This is just another tool. And this is how you use it to add to what you already have to do, which is plan those lessons anyway. And then try to help them see it as a teaching assistant. Like this is something that can assist you in your craft, can't replace you at all, like any other tool. And so I think me having my own little aha moment allowed me to start to turn that energy towards, okay, hold on now. How can we help teachers with this? But I think there's some blocks if you're thinking about an individual teacher, if the campus or the district doesn't kind of get on board or try to provide some supports. I don't know how much progress we're making by just touching individual teachers, or if that's just how we start, to get people kind of familiar with the tools and how to use them.
So my research, and those are great points. My research shows that just what you're speaking to,
Mhm,
actually, teachers that participated in the study
mhm.
were hesitant to spend time and invest time. Not all of them, right? Like you said, you have your early adopters, the teachers we need in the system,
Mhm.
the ones that go out and say, use this, and they're excited and they run to their administrators. But for the most part, teachers are like, okay, here's my curriculum. Here's what the district has told me that they're providing. I mean, I get my little extras to kind of support my kids.
Yeah.
But if the district is not supporting it, and it's not a part of my evaluation, it's not a part of what the state is telling me through the curriculum and the resources provided to me, that this is what I need to do. What is in it for me to invest my time in this product? And then again, research showed, and this is at the time I started my research back in 2019, but you still see it today, where if the, districts or region centers in Texas, right? They're called different names in different areas. But if they're not providing that professional development related to artificial intelligence and education, where am I going to get that information? The internet right now is like the wild, wild west. There's so much out there that
Mhm.
it's like, how is an educator supposed to focus on what's necessary, even if they are interested, particularly if they're concerned about the alignment, or even if the district is going to apply? And actually, one of the frameworks that I used for my excuse me, for my theoretical framework is in my research. And so as a part of that, it's like, what do you use to kind of apply, what people are telling you, right? What are teachers saying? And so there's a model called the concerns based adoption model. And I'm only mentioning that, first of all, because it comes from Texas. So that's nice. It was created by researchers at the University of Texas, but also Austin, but
Okay.
also because it relates to when teachers are not giving that agency. When the district comes and says, this is the initiative
Yeah,
that we're presenting to you that you have to implement. And
mm,
now what is your take on that? And so it's been an interesting, like you see the research and you do the research, but that's kind of a bubble. But now seeing it actually play out in the reality of teachers' lives at a wider scale has been interesting to observe.
that's good. So I love to dive into this idea that I had the privilege of listening to you on the panel at the air show, and one of my biggest fears that I have been discussing with anybody that will listen to me that does work in the AI space is, the crux of the work that we do in the Fresh Classroom is to help teachers create culturally responsive classroom experiences that pull in the interest and the background knowledge and the things that kids care about to increase their engagement. And so my biggest fear when I have started to look and ask questions and tinker with some tools that are popping up in the AI space is that some tools could be used to further perpetuate cultural irrelevance in classrooms and more quickly. So, like this idea that we can start reproducing the same kind of lessons, the same kind of experiences, but more quickly now that we have AI to do it. Whereas it's not necessarily becoming more effective because it's including the interests of students and bringing, the diversity that we need, the inclusivity that we need from the students' lived experiences. Unless we are very particular in the PD approach. My fear is that it's just easy for us to get caught up in this loop where we're reproducing cultural irrelevance in our classrooms. And so I wanted to hear your thoughts about that, or ways that maybe if you've seen people being very intentional about not getting into that. But that's my biggest fear right now, that when I'm looking at the tools that people are using.
Well, and thank you. And yes, the air show was a great kind of discussion on, equitable practices with regard to AI in education. And one um comment that I made, in just the sense that I talk about, is representation is intentional.
Mm,
And so when you look at particular generative AI and the models that are used for the, different types of products out there, they were trained by humans, right?
right,
And much of the data are from the internet. It just scrape the internet for this information. And if you think about what your friendly internet, World Wide Web,
yeah,
information that's provided, in addition to models being trained and algorithms being developed by individuals who do not, as a representative body, don't represent percentage wise what society looks like. That is what the foundation in which you're seeing,
mm-hmm,
that the representation is not there at the levels that it should be. And you're
right,
absolutely correct, because the other, kind of concept that I talk about with that is we talk about access and opportunity.
right,
However, if I have all the tools in the world, if I'm up, have the best computer in the world, the best large language model in the world, but if I enter in the information
mm-hmm,
and the output has no, association with my lived experience, with who I am as a person, with the society that surrounds me, do I truly have access?
right,
Because now it doesn't relate to me. So when you hear stories about, people entering in, like, who is a scientist, or, show me a mathematician, or write about this, and the outputs are the same type of outputs we've been seeing. And this goes back to, so someone talked to me like, well, I mean, it's the same as a search engine, right? Where you're entering in this LLM and the LLM didn't return the results just like a search engine. I have to remind them, yes, because that search engine is AI, right? And they're like, oh, and I was like, yes, that's how long it's been. It's just another form
yeah,
at this point of artificial intelligence. And so, part of that is, what tools, of course, are out there that are looking to be more representative, or of what society looks like. And so I can talk about, they're not necessarily recommendations. They're more for, if someone wants to explore what it's like to be intentional about representation, One of the large language models or chat bots that are out there is a Latimer, and it's actually a African American company
Mhm.
who is really they're beta testing, which means that it's not in full production, but they're
Right.
still out there like, hey, we created this product. We want to provide limited access to this product for those who are interested. So Latimer is one, and I'm assuming that Latimer is coming from Lewis Latimer, who many might know. Is considered to be the creator of the filament light bulb. And so the other one is Chat Black GPT. They're also
Yes.
in beta testing, but I know that the founder and CEO has really been intentional about being in the space, letting people know and informing them that, hey, there are alternatives
So in
out
a couple
there.
sessions that I was in, I was like, okay, I wouldn't even know anything about that if I didn't
Yeah.
come here. Yeah. So
And
it's called
so
Chat Black. What's it called? Black Chat GPT or Chat Black
it's
GPT?
Chat Black
Chat
GPT.
Black. Okay, we're gonna have.
And I know that they are doing a wider release later this year, and it might be even this summer. I'm not sure, but those are the kind of things, like if it's like you're really looking. I mean, it's one thing to go through and have and almost do more work, right? You can um do prompts and kind of engineer your way or prompt a model to provide more representative information, but at the same time, but the number of prompts that you have to do, are you
Exactly.
spending enough time where you could have created the lesson on your own?
Right,
um
right.
or do you seek out and explore and play with those tools that do allow, or do present more
Mhm.
representative models. So it's just something to think about. It's a concern.
Yeah.
Companies are still trying to calibrate what this looks like, but
Mm.
we have to understand that, similar to, in before, things such as Chat GPT, these things did exist. And it's recognizing it and saying, now that we're kind of in this youth stage of what AI could look like at a more impactful level, this is the time to get it right and make sure as our kids are, growing up and learning more, that they're not exposed to the same levels of, bias or inequity,
Mm.
particularly in products that are going to be considered to be like givers of knowledge, for lack of a better term.
Basically. Yeah, that makes
Mhm.
sense. Well, my next question was about 3 tips or tools that you would recommend to educators who want to explore. So I'm going to recap because you always gave us two. You told us about Latimer and you told us about Chat Black GPT. But if there's any other tips or tools you like to leave with the educator, especially the ones that say, like, maybe I want to lean in a little more. This is what I keep hearing at conferences that I've been presenting at, educators that will be like, well, I kind of just tinker, I go on Chat GPT and kind of put in some stuff, but they might want to lean in a little bit more. Any tips or tools you'd recommend to them?
So again, and yeah, I usually don't recommend products, right? In
Right, right.
terms of, is there one more, one less? So even with the tools I mentioned, I think that people should be in a position to explore, particularly if they're, newer in learning, like, what is this?
Mhm.
How is it really going to impact me? What are some ways that I can start looking at it in the classroom? So I definitely think that, relying on one chat bot in terms of, we all hear about Chat GPT. I think what'll end up happening is we could say Google, did you Google it, which could mean searching any search engine.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I see Chat GPT position. But I definitely, again, similar to Latimer Chat Black GPT, if you are wanting to explore other models and chatbots and how they present information, um, Claude, which is from Anthropic, is another chatbot that is, positioned in terms of the model. that
Okay.
supports it is comparable to um OpenAI's model. It's obviously not as wide known. You can explore obviously Gemini and Copilot from Google and Microsoft respectively. And I would even say as someone is exploring is to enter in the same type of prompt and
Mhm.
to explore the differences between the models as a way to even calibrate like which one
Mm.
is presenting the information in a way that is more aligned with what I'm seeking because
Yeah,
you will get something different as you sort through.
I
Um,
love
go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just saying I love that advice about even if you had the same prompt and you were like, I'm just gonna test out these three and see like what the outcome will be, like what it's gonna give me, and then maybe lean into one of those. I love that advice.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, because they'll say, like, I've heard, that some people like Claude because they feel that the responses show more of a empathy. Obviously, and I have to remind, chat AI is not sentient, it's not alive, it doesn't think as we like to think. It is at its heart, math and complex probability, but in terms of the way it was trained and the outputs it presents gives a more type of connection that people seek because ultimately, despite of what people say, I mean, again, going back to popular, we want something to connect to. And
Mhm.
if it's a human, that's obviously great. But if it's a computer program that's making me have all the feels and giving me that connection that I need as a human, I'm gonna lean in, and that's just the truth of it. Anybody would.
Mhm.
Um, so in terms of educational products, there are multiple products out there. I can talk through some of the most popular products to explore. Again, um, Magic School, I think, has positioned itself as one of the leaders in this space in terms of exploring and that teacher assistant role. Another one is CuriePod, which also has positioned itself as a leader. Your Way is trying to position itself in terms of all of them are considered to be teaching assistants and they help generate lessons and provide that type of feedback.
Right.
But in terms of the connection it's making, so Your Way is more wants to present more of that pedagogical practice.
Right.
And then another one is like Brisk Teaching, which is a Chrome extension, and it provides that same type of service. So again, if I'm an educator, if I'm a teacher, what do I want to accomplish? What is my goal? And then to search, explore through those different products to see which one speaks or aligns the most with what you're trying to accomplish,
I love.
given and going back to what you said initially,
Mhm.
is the district going to support it?
Mhm.
Will it be blocked? Am I even able to use it? Has my district said, we are not supporting AI in the classroom? And then if it's not in the classroom, are there applications outside of the classroom that allow you to support your work as a teacher?
Right.
Um, I'll pause there, but with one final caveat I'd like to share with any of these models is
Okay.
to be very careful about your inputs, particularly when you're dealing with students.
Right.
We do not want to put in any type of personal identifiable information.
That's true.
I am also very highly hesitant to recommend entering student paper, work
Yeah.
in that sense. I think there will get to a point, particularly as some companies are moving to enterprise systems where there are closed systems where it would be more um there'll be more safety and security protocols involved in entering in that type of information. but now I just recommend general, kind of like you said, prompts,
Right.
personal work. If it's mine, I can do whatever I want with it, right?
That makes sense.
And
Uh-huh.
then to kind of avoid the inputs that could expose student data.
Gotcha. That's good advice, especially for people that are trying to get a little bit more familiar. So, the last question I have is, where can people find you and support the work that you do if they want to get with you and follow you and then just see all the goodness that you put out, because you stay on it. I see you, especially on LinkedIn. I'm like, she on it.
Well, yeah, LinkedIn is where, most of the content I
Mhm.
post is available. I do have my website, www.nnekamcgee.com, which right now just has some background, some of the places that I present or presentations. It has a couple of the podcasts that I've been a part of in previously. And so those are the two main areas. Obviously, if you do visit my website and you're thinking about going to a conference, some of the conferences that I'm doing this year are already available and posted there.
Nice. Awesome. Well, we'll be sure to include all that information and all the tools that were mentioned today in the description and information for everybody to be able to access. And I want to thank you again, Dr. McGee, for joining me, for sharing your expertise with our Fresh Fam. We are looking to continue to demystify AI for educators, challenge educators to just be willing to get outside their boxes in order to utilize whatever tools are at their disposal to create classrooms that are fresh, that's fun, relevant, engaging, standards-based, and higher order for all students. And so thank y'all so much for joining us. And I look forward to sharing all the information that was discussed today. And we'll see you next time with Dr. B for Fresh Chats. See y'all.
Take care.